Is perfection a prerequisite for greatness? What if I told you that one of the most revered kings in history was deeply flawed? In the annals of time, there is a king who stands out for his bravery, leadership, and poetic prowess. His name was David, a figure of immense influence and power, yet he was far from the perfect monarch that many imagine. David's journey began in the humblest of circumstances. As a shepherd boy in the fields of Bethlehem, he was the youngest of 8 sons, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Yet he was chosen to ascend to the throne to lead and guide a nation. But with power came great responsibility and also great temptation. David, despite his many virtues, was human. His imperfections began to surface, marring his otherwise illustrious reign. Stay with me as we delve into the story of King David, Bathsheba and Uriah, a tale of power, lust, and betrayal. Picture this: a king atop his palace spots a beautiful woman bathing. His heart is ensnared, but there's a catch: she's another man's wife. In the annals of history, few stories are as compelling as that of King David and Bathsheba. On a fateful evening, David, the shepherd-turned-king, was wandering on the roof of his palace. His eyes fell upon Bathsheba, a woman of exquisite beauty bathing in the moonlight. Her allure was irresistible, and in that moment the king's heart was ensnared. Yet there was a catch, a moral snag in this tale of desire. Bathsheba was not a maiden waiting for a king's affection. She was the wife of Uriah, one of David's most loyal soldiers. The sanctity of their marriage should have been unassailable, but David, despite his royal status and moral obligations, was consumed by his desire for Bathsheba. Ignoring the societal norms and the divine decree, David sent for Bathsheba. The king's command was absolute, and Bathsheba, with little choice, was brought to the palace. That night, the line of virtue was crossed. David slept with Bathsheba, violating the sanctity of Uriah's marriage. In the days that followed, a revelation shook the palace walls. Bathsheba was pregnant. The consequences of David's actions were no longer a secret that could be kept hidden. The king, who was once a beacon of virtue, had now marred his legacy with an act of adultery. Yet a king's desire had already set the wheels of fate in motion. David, in a desperate bid to protect his throne and reputation, was forced to confront the consequences of his actions. His desire for Bathsheba was not just an infraction of moral codes, but a harbinger of chaos that would ripple through his reign. But the story doesn't end there. In a desperate bid to hide his indiscretion, King David devises a cunning plan. Uriah, a loyal soldier, unknowing of the king's betrayal and his wife's predicament, is summoned back from the battlefield. The scene unfolds with Uriah, an epitome of loyalty, caught in a web spun by his king, David, and his wife Bathsheba. David, the king with an unquenchable desire, plots to deceive Uriah, hoping to mask his own transgressions under a facade of normalcy. In his cunning scheme, David tries to trick Uriah into laying with his wife Bathsheba, intending to pass off the unborn child as Uriah's. But Uriah, dutiful and steadfast, refuses to enjoy the comforts of his home while his comrades are in battle. Thwarted, David resorts to a darker path. He orders Uriah to be placed on the front lines where death is almost certain. Uriah falls, a victim of the king's machinations. So the king had his desire, but at what cost? In the aftermath of Uriah's death, King David married Bathsheba, but the price of his actions was steep. The aftermath saw the prophet Nathan confronting King David, his voice echoing through the royal chambers, a stark reminder of the king's sins. It was a confrontation that shook David to his core, revealing the devastating consequences of his actions. David's world crumbled. He faced losses so profound that they left him shattered. The death of his child with Bathsheba was perhaps the most heart-wrenching of them all. It was a stark lesson in the perils of letting desires control actions, a lesson in integrity and the power of repentance. This tale from the annals of history serves as a timeless lesson. It emphasizes that even those in positions of power can fall from grace due to their imperfections. King David's story is a stark reminder that even those in power are not exempt from the consequences of their actions, and that greatness, while admirable, does not equate to perfection.